I've said before that this two-tiered justice system on display is eroding everyone's trust in our legal system. And the reality is, if you're in the opposition party, you're treated one way, and if you're a friend of the party in power, then you're treated a completely different way.
We can't have a two-tiered justice system in America.
60% of the American people think there's a double standard at the Justice Department. They think that because there is.
And the American people that I represent are sick and tired of this double standard. It seems like every single hearing that we have in this room, we talk about the two-tiered justice system of Biden's DOJ and the FBI. And as we were talking earlier, here we are again.
Man, I bet you that really put the communists on their heels. Joining me now, my friend Darryl Cooper, major talented. This guy's going to be gigantic. He hosts the MartyrMade podcast. Darryl, I've got to tell you, man, after pointing out all that hypocrisy, I bet the communists are fleeing in terror right now.
Yeah, either that or they're toasting each other and laughing about it behind the scenes. I don't think that bothers them too much at all.
Darryl, this is why honestly, it's why I'm doing the special on it. This is why I no longer call myself a conservative, because the movement, this is all it's ever been my whole life. It's always been, look at what they're doing. We'd never get away with this. Can you imagine if the roles were reversed? And in the meantime, we've watched every single thread that holds our society together be ripped apart by these people, and the conservatives never stop it. Forget about adding more threads, which they should be doing. They never stop it. So here we are.
I think that the people in power, the people who run the conservative movement, who are up there at the top making decisions, these are people from a previous generation. When you might disagree with Democrats, a lot of Democrats might be way out there with their policy choices or social choices that they would support, but you could trust them at least to have some basic respect for a few tenets that hold our society together at a really fundamental level. If you go back to the late 1960s, you didn't have presidential candidates. You didn't have Eugene McCarthy going out and speaking in support of the Black Liberation Army or speaking in support of the rioters in 1968. You just would never have seen that. And if a presidential candidate on the Democratic side did do that, they would have been made to step down by their own party. And so that's the mentality that I think that informs the conservative movement now. Everybody kind of knows that has now changed, that the other side has given up any pretense of playing by any of those rules, that they feel like they're close enough to their goal, that their goal is close enough within reach, that if they just sprint for the finish line now and the rules be damned, then they can get there and lock down control permanently and do whatever they want. And that's the gamble that they've made. And I think that Republicans, conservatives in general, have not been able to respond to that change fast enough. And I can understand why. We've lasted for 200 something years in this country with both sides, all sides, more or less holding to a certain set of core values, at least. And then in the course of 10 or 15 years, they've just been jettisoned. And that's a very rapid period of time to expect people to adapt.
Well, you adapted. I adapted. I know all kinds of people, normal people who listen to your show, watch my show, listen to my show. They've adapted. They're sitting there screaming, do something, stop them. These people are nut jobs now. So why haven't the people who run things adapted? I mean, I don't think I'm some kind of special intellect by any means, to put it mildly, but I recognize what's happening and what the stakes are. Why don't the people in charge?
Yeah, I probably came across more sympathetic to the conservative movement than I really am. I guess I was just trying to maybe understand them a little bit. But you're right. This is something that anybody should be able to see, that I think increasingly people are all able to see. The question is what to do about it. You have good men out there who have some, maybe they don't quite know what time it is, but they know the general time of day, like Ted Cruz, who understands what's going on. He understands how deeply corrupt all this is. But when he gets asked directly, as he did on one of his podcasts the other day, why don't Republican attorney generals and states start returning the favor to the Democrats to at least reestablish some kind of deterrence here. And he backed off. He's like, no, we can't start playing by those rules. It's really like, you're a boxer and you go into the ring, and in the first round, your opponent pulls out a knife and just starts chasing you around the ring, slashing at you. And you run away and you manage to make it out of the first round. And you get back to the corner and you say, Coach, he's got a knife. What should I do? And your coach says, well, look, the integrity of the sport is on the line here, okay? So whatever you do, I don't want to see any low blows. I don't want to see any rabbit punching, nothing below the belt. The integrity of the sport is on the line here. And you say, but Coach, his cornermen, they're flashing a gun now. What should I do? He's like, you just get out there and give him the old 1-2, kid. And so you go out there and the guy rushes you with a knife and you headbutt him and he goes down. And the ref steps in, disqualifies you, gives the other guy the belt, and your own coach, that would be the leaders of the conservative movement in this example, are supporting the ref's decision and calling for you to be disqualified and banned from the sport. And that's where we're at right now. I think the people who see it are not the ones making the decisions. And, maybe there's something to that. Maybe it's easier to see it when you don't have to make the hard decisions, because there is this fear that, once we join the fight on their terms, then any pretense of this experiment that we've had going on for, since 1776 is really going to be finished. The minute both sides start playing by those kinds of rules, that, I think a lot of conservatives have the hope that, yes, they're out of control now, but we can wait them out. Eventually, this is going to pass. The fever is going to pass, and we'll still have something to hold on to when that's all finished with. But I think it's becoming increasingly clear that the fever is not going to pass. We've got people on the other side who are playing absolutely for keeps.
You want to watch our special on George Washington? It's freaking awesome. Well, you can. All you have to do is become a First TV supporter. That gives you access to all of our specials on demand, and it's cake. All you have to go to is thefirsttv.com/support. Thefirsttv.com/support. Become a supporter. Enjoy learning about George Washington.